So what about the cars in the books?
Yeah.
They're quite important to you, aren't they?
Yes, they are very important. Particularly sort of Wendy's Morris Traveller. Had to have a Morris Traveller in it because that was the car that stood out for me most from my childhood. We had like a sort of duck egg green Morris Traveller when I was a little girl, and I remember it really clearly, and I just thought the comedy aspect of everybody jumping into this Morris Traveller, yeah, and going off at 50 miles an hour, you know, at speed. I thought, yeah, I'm always looking for a laugh, but I do love Morris Travellers. And Sam's TVR, I wanted a British car. I wanted a really, you know, I wanted something really British, and the TVR is a really good one. Because I was sort of thinking, well, Aston Martin, but it's James Bond's car. You can't take a James, you know. I got a Mini in there. What else have I got in there? Mini.
Motorbikes.
Got a Harley. Got a Triumph in the second book. Shane drives a Triumph. Yeah, they're really important to me because I'm trying to attract both types of reader. I'm trying to attract girls and the boys. There's got to be aspects that they're interested in, and cars is one of those things that, you know, I'm interested in, but they're interested in as well, and it sort of defines the characters.
I mean, I think the whole book, that because you've got sort of like the love stories and the developing love stories and the friendships, and you know, it was. I think we've kind of got over the Val and Jason thing, and then when Jason's girlfriend appears, Fran, and you just.
That was hard as well. I know, yeah, that was really hard.
And it's almost just like
I've had more people comment on that. Yeah,
you want to hate Fran. But then as you get to know her, sort of more in the Turncoats, you think, oh,
she's actually a really nice person.
Yeah. So
it is really hard. And when I wrote the first book and everybody hating her, it was really hard for me because I know her and I wanted to say, no, but she's really nice. Jason never gave Val any inclination, never, that he was in love with her or he fancied her. How many times have you, as a young girl or a young person, fallen for someone who never gave you an inkling that they liked you, and then when you've sort of gone to lay it out on the table, they've just gone, what? Yeah, but you're my friend. You know, I couldn't possibly, and that's how she had to go through that. She had to go through that, but Francesca's lovely. And Jason was never in love with her. And I've had people say to me, I think you should kill Fran off. You know, I think Fran should have an affair with Sam, or they've given me lots of different ways to get out of it. But I'm like, no, actually, Jason and Fran. And if they weren't like that, he wouldn't have gone desperately searching for her in the Turncoats, you know, done what he did and taken all the risks that he took. He was prepared to risk his life there and then to save her. And I feel that, you know, when I'm writing things like that, I'm like, oh my goodness me, he's so desperate to get her back, and I mean, quick, I might write faster, see what happens. And it's. I mean,
do you find that? Do you find that you get so many ideas? And I mean, I know you've got the basic outline for all 6 books. Yeah. But do you find that you'll be sort of quite happily writing away, and then suddenly you have, you know, like you say, a light bulb moment, and you think, actually, I think I'm gonna. I
had one of those last Christmas, and we were all sat around watching like the Christmas television, and I was just tapping away because I had to work, and everyone was watching television. All of a sudden, I went, "I'm a genius! I'm a genius!" And it was just like something just fell into place in a storyline. It just falls into place, and you just go, "That is classic," and that's where the twists come from. That moment of, but actually.
So you don't actually do it intentionally then?
No, I don't try really. It's just some of them, I do plan. You know, this person's got to be a baddie, and they've got to be a goodie, and they've got to be, you know, both sides of the. And I try and plan it, but other things just plop in, and you just go, wow, that's going to leave everybody going, and that's what I like. When everybody was like, I never saw Delta come in. No. I never saw it come in a million years. That was perfect.
I said to you after I'd read the 13th and we sort of spoke, and I said, you know, I really did have to go back and reread.
Test me. You tested me. Yeah. It's a bit like The Sixth Sense, isn't it, with Bruce Willis? Yeah. Never saw that coming. No. When that ended, I just sat there with my mouth wide open going, what just happened to me? Yeah. I can't believe it. And then I watched it again, and I was like, wow, that is some really seriously good work.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a lot of new characters in the Turncoats.
Yes.
We have Flo.
Yeah. Everybody finds her really scary.
I'm not really sure how I kind of picture her. I'm thinking something. Well, I don't really know.
She reminds me, if you've ever seen Interview with a Vampire, you know the little girl in that can't grow older? She reminds me of that. She's got that sort of 18th century look with the blonde, long blonde hair.
Where did she come? Because that's really strange.
I wanted a child to be one of the main characters, I thought it was important because we tend to not talk about it. It's a bit voodoo about a child being a baddie. And I wanted her to be slightly disturbing, and I thought, because I didn't want to shy away from it, and I just thought the fact that she was dead was really entertaining. You know, I just thought the fact that there's this dead 12-year-old that chews tobacco. I wanted her to smoke a cigar, and I really sort of played with the idea of should I let her or shouldn't I, and I thought, no, it's not appropriate. I don't, you know, I'm completely anti-smoking anyway. I want her to, she's got a spirit inside her, and the spirit is like a 6-foot man. So it's got to, and I thought, you know, the chewing tobacco is going to be fun, you know, and she's so rude to everybody. I just love the way she's so rude to everyone. It's fantastic.
Are we going to see more of her? Are you allowed
Oh,
to
you can't get rid of Flo, yeah. Yeah, for a while, yeah, I should imagine so. Yeah. She'll definitely be back in, obviously, in the next book, because we left this book with her in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a good character.
I mean, because we've kind of, in the Turncoats, we've sort of not lost Wendy, but Wendy's kind of gone off to
She's gone off to be the Jedi training.
Yeah. Is that going to be developed? Are we going to are we going to learn all about that, or is she going to sort of suddenly appear?
I quite like following the characters. You know, especially in the Turncoats, we have that section where you go with Fran, then you go with Shane, then you go with the Collector. I like following the characters around because I think that when you read from first perspective, you miss out so much that's happening with everyone else. So we're going to jump from here to here to here and see what everybody's doing without losing the train of the story, hopefully, along the way.
And so in the Turncoats, we meet Zach.
Yeah.
Who, you've
got to love him, haven't you? You've got to love Zach, yeah.
I mean, has he been sort of in the back of your minds all along? Is he always?
I knew he was coming in book 2. I knew he was coming because she needed. You get rid of somebody as big as Delta, you've got to replace it straight away. You know, because Delta and Val were like chalk and cheese, and they played off each other. Zach was very much of my choosing, and at the end of it, I left in book 1 where somebody was going to follow on, and come and help her. Yeah. And Zach is like me playing with the universe, really, because he's an alien, he's come to Earth. He just questions everything, and I love questioning things.
I love the kind of, in the beginning of the book, talking about religion and things that, you know, about it being sort of God's, that it's the day of rest.
The day of rest, yeah. This is God's day of rest. Are you resting today? Do you believe in God? You know, and it's a question. It's a question I think that everybody sort of, you know, some people say, well, actually, you know, and Val says, we're resting today because it's the day of God, and you think, oh, you're just opening a bucket here of something, you know. I love the way he works on that. I love the way he thinks about it, because that's how I think about things. But
I love the way he was so readily accepted by all the other characters as well. They're kind of never questioned.
No, you can't really at this point, can you? You know, especially when he introduces himself as Zac Efron. It's just like, wow.
But it's funny because I don't sort of see him as Zac Efron.
No, he doesn't look like Zac Efron. No. He doesn't.
He's just sort of been given that name as
as one of the gods of this planet.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Zac Efron?
I wouldn't say High School Musical is my favourite film. I've watched it many times with my daughter. 17 was good. I have to say I turned at that point to like thinking, well, maybe. But no, it was one of my favourite scenes in any film is Back to the Future. And it's where he says his name's Clint Eastwood. And I just thought that's classic. Yeah. That is classic comedy. And then I think in Austin Powers, he calls himself Richie Cunningham. And if you can get away with it, and if you can put it in, and it's funny, because sometimes you can't, you can get away with murder, you know. And I just thought, when he walks in that door and Wendy says hello, and he says, I am Zac Efron, you know, everybody's going, what? It's called what? It's classic. It's classic comedy that I've stolen. But
like you say, everybody kind of accepts all these new characters, and they don't question it.
No.
I mean, the setting for the Val and the 13th, is that based on sort of any way you know? Is that based
no,
on
it's made. I had to make that town up because I wanted things to be positioned in a certain way. So the tattoo parlour was here, the bookshop was sort of, you know, half a mile up the road, and it had to be specific to my needs. Whereas I mentioned local places like Fantasy Island and things like that, you know, Inglemeld, and Skeggy and California, and so it is here, but I had to make up Arksdale because I needed somewhere that I could mould to my own taste, and I didn't want them to name a street after me when I became famous. It's just one of those things.